Now, another group that has been studying the 2020 budget statement is the Tax Justice Coalition. They've been looking at the tax policies in the budget, and we've got two members of the coalition here to help us understand what they found. Let's say good afternoon to Dr. Alex Ampabing. He's a fiscal policy specialist at Oxfam. He's here with Jeffrey Okansi, who's the chairman of CSO's Budget Forum. They're both members of the coalition, like I mentioned. Nice to see you both. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so tax is something that was of interest to me even before the budget was read, because as a nation, we're made to understand that 80% of our economic population is untaxed, undocumented, and informal.
Certainly.
That's the politer term that is used, informal. For decades, no government has really cracked the code of how to capture these people into the net, and that's 80%. Okay, so in simple terms, we could be collecting 5 times as much minimum, 5 times as much tax as we're collecting at the moment. So what's your assessment, first of all, of government's intentions to improve the situation there?
Okay, I think broadly, I would say this budget points to some bit of seriousness in terms of tackling sectors which have always been very difficult to tackle. They are proposing of giving a new face to the GRA, putting 3 measures. The first one being customer focused, but the crucial bit is digitizing, because the challenge of taxing the sector you just recently talked about is about where are they? They are here with us, but you don't have the data, so how do you tax them?
That's right.
So they are moving towards digitizing the system and the sector to make sure that people and activities are able to account for. But there's nothing more so specific about the sector. 2018 budget, there was a reference that we're going to look into taxing the informal sector. That was specific. But then 2019 budget, actually there's nothing about it. So you're kind of still a bit concerned. And like you rightly pointed out, we don't even have an accurate data. Some studies are saying 60, some are saying 70, some are saying 80. So the lowest being 60. Exactly. Yeah. So even if it's 60, it's still worrying, because you live in an economy where 60% to 80% of economic activities carried out in the sector, with only 2% of those people are paying tax. That's how bad it is. When you talk of the informal sector, most of the time people think they are the shoe shine lady, a guy or the lady. No. There are some real big guys in there. We're making reference like the Masons. Somebody can charge like 30,000 and put up a house in 3 months. Another 30,000, 3 months. Within a year, this guy has made about 1.2 billion. So there are real players in the sector which we need to have the conversation and tackling. And to me, honestly, the budget didn't tackle specifically. But in terms of the new GRA phase, digitizing their operations and making bringing the staff into a standard. I think they're having the second point is capacity building of the staff, which you all know they lack. So yes, positive digitization step forward, but specifically on the informal sector, I didn't see anything captured, and it's very worrying.
I don't normally ask the same question of both of my guests, but I'm curious, what's your take, whether you agree or disagree?
Totally agree with him. You know, less than 10% of the people who are actually in the informal sector, which he rightly mentioned, about 80% of them are supposed to be paying taxes, are not paying taxes now. We've identified some of them in certain areas where he mentioned the skilled workers, like masons and carpenters that he's mentioned are in the construction.
5 hair salons.
Exactly.
Don't pay
exactly.
1 cedi of tax.
Exactly. And these persons are actually persons who operate and take the monies from individuals, and they take their paycheck. I mean, it could be cash, it could be check, but without paying any taxes. You know, regulating their activities is also another problem. When you get all these people on a skilled point of registering them and then putting them under the tax system, you would improve the system. Another group is those who operate at night and dawn. You know, when you just go next door circle, people come in the evening and do their business, and that is the night markets all around the place. And at dawn, some people take delivery of their goods. I mean, those who go in the local parlance, we say omuko kwanso. You know, they bring this plantain, banana, and all those oranges in bulk, and then they offload to these small vehicles, the Kambu vehicles we mentioned to them, and all these people are doing business. They start around 10 p.m. and roughly around about 4 a.m. they are gone. You know, and our tax system closes around 5 p.m. So these persons are operating, they are working clearly, everybody sees them working. And there was an interaction with the GRA, and they accepted that they did a little funding around the main Accra Makola, where some tile companies, those who deal in tiles and construction equipment, they actually sell at dawn, where the big trucks come and load and go. So you actually would not see their muscle, you know. But these people have fading warehouses and they operate at dawn. So our platform, we call them the night and dawn economy. And these ones, when you go to a night market, there are people selling. That's along the streets. They are selling. They work and they sell, and actually they make profits. So when we talk about those informal sector, it is not just about the ground seller walking down the streets. It's actually a whole industry where people are really making good money, but they've not been taxed. You know.
So let's talk about this. What we are translating from the 2020 budget as a solution. Digitisation. It's part of the new GRA proposal. Now we've already seen some digitisation efforts. So we've seen the TIN. We've seen the Ghana Post GPS. You mentioned something else? Oh yes, indeed. Okay, so these are all attempts to identify these amorphous people that we don't know. But can we assess the effectiveness so far of the efforts that have been put in place? So for example, the TIN. The idea now is that if you're opening a bank account, you must have a TIN. If you're going to enter into business with government, you must have a TIN. If you're going to, you know, all kinds of things, you require a TIN. But I can walk into a bank today, show them my TIN, and thereby open a bank account. But that doesn't say whether or not I owe tax.
That was my
you know. So is it useful? Or have we really solved any part of the problem by introducing the TIN?
Yes, I think the TIN is a very positive step forward, and I mean I've been in Germany, the UK, and all other Western countries, and there's no country which is developed or doing well on the tax front.
Sorry, I'll have you assess the Ghana Post GPS for us. So
so there's no country where the GRM effort is being intensified or is being successful without having a taxpayer account.
Right.
Because the TIN is what's going to link to your account individual for you to see at the end of the year how much did you contribute in taxes. So yes, the TIN is a very positive step forward. But like you said, I have the same reservation. Having a TIN doesn't mean I pay taxes. One thing the TIN should be able to do is in the long term, you should be able to link people's activity to the TIN. And still on the example I was giving, for example, the informal sector, we can start introducing builder's license, for example, where nobody can build in Accra unless you have a license. This is the right way of getting to the informal sector on the builders. You can have the same with electricity guys, kind of. So the registration license you'll be given is linked to your TIN. You cannot build without. So if I want to build a house, I come to hire you. There's a form I need to fill, a pager. That shows your name, your TIN, your license number. So at the end of the year, it's so easier by going straight to the individual account, using your TIN, easily, and with the license linked, I can easily see you've paid or not. And also, if you're in any professional employment, I think we should make tax filing compulsory. That if you're in a job, you've been identified that you're actually a trader, you're in a particular business, then tax filing should be compulsory.
Right.
That is the only time the TIN become relevant. But having the TIN, possessing the number, is not equivalent to tax payment, I'm afraid.
Okay, point made. Ghana Post GPS.
Yeah, it's a very good initiative. Connecting people on board is very, very excellent. But let me tell you what. As to whether it will be effective, let's use what is available. What is available is an example of tax that we should be collecting on property, property tax.
Yeah.
The buildings are there. We see the buildings. The assemblies see the buildings. How far has the collection gone? You know, so it's about tax education, letting the people know about their responsibility, giving that exercise a human face so that you improve compliance. And also about honesty and transparency. When people see the effective use of the tax monies, they'll start seeing reality of what their tax monies are being used for. That would push that momentum, you know. But when you talk about locating the persons, the initiative is wonderful. I'm saying the existing ones that we can see, I mean, in our local is a Filika Doji. You see the buildings, you know where to locate them. After that, what else follows is about collection, improving the collection processes, making sure that the collectors are able to assess the persons wherever they are located, and make sure when they go, they give it a human face. Tax collection is a business. It's a whole business on its own. So you need to learn, look, we pay tithes. You pay tithes, I pay tithes. Do pastors come chasing you to pay your tithes? It's because of the communication. You were thought about tithes. You know about tithes. You believe in tithes, so you give your tithes. So what we are saying is, one of our suggestions on our platform has been that education, tax education should start from basic education through secondary education, making sure that we inculcate in the children. If they miss it with that, they shouldn't miss it with the children. So let's have tax education right down from basic education to tertiary level. I'm saying the curriculum should have tax education as part of it, so that people should know about taxes, and then by the time they grow up, they see it as a patriotic duty to pay taxes. So like you rightly said, let's know where the people live, but let's do more about efforts to collection and make sure the collection has a human face.
All right. Okay, so I'm told we have 2 minutes. I'll split it among the two of you. Final thoughts on the way forward for 2020. What can be done to make our budget a bit more tax friendly, if you will?
I think to me, like Jeff said, it's about tax education. Most of the GRA approaches has been towards the enforced compliance, and the enforced tend to be expensive, and it's less effective when you stop penalizing people. So that posture of enforcement should be reduced. We need to preach more for voluntary tax compliance. To me, that is the most realistic way forward. And finally, we need to get the district assemblies, the MMDAs, to deal with the informal sector. They are too big to administer centrally. I think the informal sector conversation should be the new district assembly common fund. Let's try the assemblies to do that.
Fascinating.
One area, tax exemptions, we should look carefully. In 2020, let's make sure and put our energies towards passing the tax exemption bill, which is before Parliament. We are advocating and calling on our MPs to accelerate work on the document so that when it is passed, look, we are a country in need already. We're giving too many exemptions, and I think we should look at it. And then also about these companies that are taking advantage of our free zones enclave. We're pushing that, look, if you benefit from the free zones, we give you about 9 years of tax-free enjoyment. If you want to exit, we are calling for something we call exit tax. After enjoying our 9 years, if you don't want to pay tax in the 10th year, you should pay us all our 9 years exemptions that we've given you. It's a fair deal, so that you enjoy it and then you give it back to us. When all that is done, we are saying in conclusion, one thing I personally believe that we're not doing too much good to ourselves when it comes to collection, especially with the communication sector and the extractives. In 2016, $27 million had to be collected back at Talu because of their tax liabilities, okay? And then when you go to Cosmos in 2017, I think $26 million was collected. That means we should do a lot of awareness in that area so that oil tax liabilities, we should look at it very well.
Gosh, I wish we had more time. This is an important conversation. I'm hoping we get the opportunity to continue this at a later date. But until then, Dr. Alex Ampabing and Jeffrey Okansi, thank you both very much for your time.